Hi, and welcome to the second video in my sort of series of Copilot for Microsoft 365 unedited. So what I mean by that is I'm just going to work in it. I'm not going to pre-bake anything. And the whole idea is to give us a real experience of what Copilot for Microsoft 365 looks like in the different applications. Um, Disclaimer, I've been using Copilot on Microsoft 365 for just shy of 2 weeks. It's my day-to-day driver. I'm intentionally making sure I use every Copilot application as much as I can to get a proper experience and to see am I productive. So before I jump into the demo, let me quickly preface by answering a question which I'm hoping you're answering in your head is, do I still think that Copilot for Microsoft 365 is worth it? So that's $48 per user per month in my case. And yes, I'm still there. I have yet to find a reason why I don't need it, except for not having a license for it. I do want it. It works well. It makes my life easier. So let's focus on this video that is Copilot for Word. So the Copilot for Word, and this is my perspective, has two functions. One, create and edit content, and the other one is to review content. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. And I'll sort of go through a bit of a demo and take from there. So when you open Copilot for Word, what happens is you get, straight away you get a little prompt box. What I'll do is I'll actually open it from scratch and give you that full experience. So it's for reals, for reals. Cool, open, hit, and bingo. That's the first thing you see. You see a draft with Copilot box that comes in and says, describe what you'd like to do, write a note, etc. So that's really, really cool. That works really well, and it's a nice prompt. If you don't, if that prompt doesn't pop up, as soon as you click anywhere into the Word document, you're going to get a little Copilot little icon that pops up, and that when you click onto it, it gives you that draft capability. You also have it available in the ribbon, and I'll pop that up, and that's going to give you the Copilot sidebar. And the sidebar is there for you to use in the context of the document of what you're doing. So you'll see that the sidebar has got a write about, so almost a sort of a mirror of what's in the document. And at the bottom there, you have the ask questions and work with this document experience. So something that's changed since I started 2 weeks ago is there now is a dictate button inside of Word, which wasn't there um, 2 weeks ago. So we're seeing updates, and that's fantastic. So here I have a whole bunch of prompts and the prompts are based around create, ask, and there's a couple of few more. And you'll see once we've created a document, we get a few more prompts as well. So this is really cool. I'll get some context-driven prompts. So let's quickly look at generating content. So write about. If I hit write about over here, I'm going to get my little prompt at the bottom saying write about, but I can sort of skip that as well and say, no, I'm just going to go there instead. So describe what you like to write about, including notes or an outline. So it could be as simple as, let's say, add a paragraph on how to write an executive summary. And hit generate. So hit generate says creating draft. So there are some people I've seen online moaning about the fact that this takes a while, and in all the demos it was very, very quick in all the videos. Let's be a little bit, let's not be disingenuous here. We're sending instructions to a large language model in natural language. It has to figure out what we've actually asked, get an answer, write the answer back in the way that's intelligent us to read, as well as sending and creating code to send back to Word, so then Word can embed that into your experience. I think a few seconds is okay. That's not a bad thing. So we need to sort of drop that habit of going, it's too slow. It's not too slow. It's doing what you would take an hour to do in 5 seconds. That's acceptable. So let's have a look. How to write the executive summary. It's dropped the information in. At the bottom, it's going to have a add paragraph, and it's telling me, hey, this is what I want. Do you want to keep it? There's a little, looks like a little refresh button. That is generate new one. I have a delete option as well. And I can also type into the text box here and say, make this less formal. So basically, I can go and take the content that I've seen and give it an additional prompt in the context of what is generated. So don't generate new content, but look at what you've given me and make a few adjustments to it as well. So you can do something like if it's used a misspelled a company name, you can say go and replace the word Contoso with Redwood Industries. Cool. So very, very easy. Once I've done that, you'll notice as well that it now has kept my previous prompt as well. So I can actually jump between the two to see what they look like. And I get like a real-time preview, which is sexy as hell. So I'm going to keep the second one. So this is really cool, working really well. You may have noticed on the right-hand side a few things have changed. So now I'm getting a few more prompts. So write about, change, summarize this doc, which is really cool, and ask a question about this doc. And those are the fun things. So in the context of what we have here, this is not really going to be a great demo. So I will do a different doc that we use for summarization, but I'm going to quickly keep with the creating content part about here and add a little bit more. So um, I've got my document started. We've said write executive summary. It's just a piece of demo content, nothing else to do. What if I have got some content that exists already and I want to add it to this document? So let's take a real world example. In our organization, the company I work for, we respond to requests for proposals, requests for information on a regular basis. We're a services business. That's our thing that we do. A lot of this information is encapsulated inside of pre-prepared documentation. So our project methodology, our security principles, how we deal with cybersecurity, etc. It all sits inside of documents in our bid library. What if I wanted to answer a question or insert something into this document I'm working with that lives inside of a document somewhere else? This is really powerful. So I can go and say, go and hit a little prompt there and say, please summarize. Oh, my typing is real. The contents of this document and hit a reference file. And now I can search for documents. I'm going to search for ICT, which is my ICT security blog, and keep typing. The document has a list of what we do at Fusion 5, which is my company, to ensure security of content relating. Okay, so we've all realized that I can't type very well. I'm not going to say that again, but that's the gist of it. So I'm giving it quite a detailed prompt and I'm referencing a file. I'm saying generate. What's going to happen here, which is really cool, it's now going to go and read that file. That file's sitting in SharePoint, by the way. It's sitting inside a bid library. I can access the file. The only reason I can access that file is because I have permissions to access it. If I didn't have permissions, it wouldn't give it up. So it's gone through and said, right, this document provides an overview of security practices, and it gives me a few run-throughs, and it's fantastic, and I can regenerate, I can add it, I can say make more formal, and I can work with it. So I was able to actually create content in this document from another document. That's really powerful, and I have yet to try it, but in the demos we can see that we can actually daisy chain a few, so you can actually add a few documents, but we'll do that for a later stage. So that's really great. Next thing you do from a content creation editing point of view is if you have a paragraph like this, you can highlight it and click on the little buttons, and you'll see they have two options: rewrite this with Copilot or visualize this table. Currently, those are the only two I've seen. I've yet to see a different prompt come up. So let's see if that actually works. So go rewrite. What that'll do is it'll basically run a reason over that data only and come up with alternatives. So it'll give me alternative versions of that. It gives me little prompts, says this is what I thought of. You'll see it's come up nicely. And it's given me a few more options. One of them, sorry, I moved out too quickly. Gives me a few options. So it doesn't just only give me one version of it. I'll bring that up and we'll walk through it. So it gives me a couple. So I can actually just sort of step through and see which is the one that is most applicable or the one that I like the most. You'll see another thing that it does is it gives me the option to make some changes to the tone and format of the ideas that it's giving me. And I'll run through those now as soon as that pop-up comes up. So that's quite a powerful experience as well. So if you have a document and you maybe want to change the tone to something a bit more professional, that is something you can do. I see I'm getting an issue, but it's fine. Like I said, this is going to be an unedited and we can do it in real life. So there we go. Rewrite with Copilot. I have one option, two options, three options. I can also go in there and I can go and say, make this more imaginative and go regenerate, and it'll go and once again reason across that specific content, take the prompt to make it more creative and add a new version for me, an imaginative rewrite of your text. Once I'm ready, I can either do a replace, I can replace that content, or I can say insert below, which is what I'm going to do here. And that's going to basically go and drop it in below. So if I'm a little bit wary or want to make sure, I want to give maybe two options to my line manager for my to go and do a review, they can do that. So that's up to them. Let's quickly delete that and let's try the other option. So run through and go visualize this table. This is actually quite cool when you want to take a piece of content that's text-based that you know is effectively a bullet list or has some sort of structure. You can have this very, very quickly generate a table for you. Very, very powerful, especially if you're putting some content that represents better as a table as well. So I'll do a keep it on this as well. So here's a little caveat, something that I found that is interesting. So we did the whole mouse over, click, rewrite. That works fine. Do it one more time just to prove that. Here's a little weird thing, and I'm going to go and click out. If I take something like a list and I go rewrite with Copilot, I get this message. Please only select plain text paragraphs as Copilot doesn't support table text elements. I don't know if that's going to be never supporting or not supporting it, but that is something which has come up. I don't know, I wouldn't call it an error because it's telling me I don't do this. So it's a functional piece that's not there. So that is quite fun. Why do I mention this? Because it's obviously a bullet list. Some Word documents, when you format them, have indents or placeholders that look like plain text. But when you try to reason over them, they come back and tell you, no, this is not. This is actually in a format I can't work with. Fantastic. So that's on the creation side. You can create from scratch. You can edit. You can reference other documents. So you have the right about you. And then the change thing, you can go and say change, like you get to change a company name, or you can say change the tone of this document, or change the format. It's really great. Um, I'm going to say summarize the document, but that's not going to work really well. And the reason why that's not going to work is because this is a mishmash of content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and open up a document I got from one of my colleagues. We were talking about the impact of AI and he sent me an article about Ada Lovelace conceptualizing AI. Um, so he's recently got this document. I actually haven't read it. It's 5 pages long, and I definitely have the time to read through it, but I don't want to because I'm just going to get the sort of the highlights. So yeah, I've got Copilots popped up on the right hand side, and let's take a real world scenario. You receive a product document from a supplier, you receive a request or proposal from a customer, or because you're responding to something, or you receive maybe your insurance summary from your insurer saying this is how you're covered, and it's 10, 15, 20 pages. You can now open it up and go, summarize this. And Copilot for Word is going to reason across the content and is going to generate a summary for you and basically give you the highlights. So you have a sort of preset version that you can read to pick up what you want to do. So let that do that. That is the one thing which is really great. And once the content's up, we'll have a look. So here are the summary of the main ideas. Main ideas, Ada Lovelace paper on the little engines, her contribution. Um, I'm not going to read this, it would be boring for the YouTube video. But as you can see, it's actually giving me a nice little summary of everything, which I can then go and copy, as well as it has the references of where it got that information from. So what was the source? So if I click on that, it'll go straight to the document and tell me where it got that reference for that specific summary. So not only is it giving me a summary, but it's also grounding it in the data and it's giving me a citation. So it makes it really easy for me to click through and make sure it got it right. And it does sometimes get it wrong. That just is currently the way with generative AI. It's not a perfect search engine that is going to get right. It's going to do its best to answer the question as it understands it. So this is a great way of making sure that whatever we create or send out is actually accurate by able to view it. So wonderful. I get a summary. I can take that, copy, paste it. I got option. You'll see I start getting little additional prompts. Make the summary longer. Make the summary more formal. This is something that you'll see consistently across all the co-pilots. Once you've done an action, like a summary, it looks at what you would potentially do next, and actually it uses Gen AI to do that, and says, you may want to make this longer, you may want to make this formal, and it starts giving you little meta prompts against that data that you just got. And that's really, really helpful. I'm hoping at some stage we have an option to actually customize that so we can have a consistent or maybe have a favorite or a prompt that is always there no matter what we're doing. So that's really great. So that's when we're talking about using Word not to create and edit, but actually to review. That's one of the great review functions. The next one is this one over here. Ask a question about the stock. So this is where you can basically, instead of reading through the document or doing like a keyword search, you can go and ask the document questions against this content. I noticed a little bit earlier in the summary that there is a mention of Turing's challenge to Ada Lovelace. So I want to know more about that. So I'm going to go and say, ask a question of the stock. Tell me what Turing had to say about Ada's perspective. And if he agreed with her. Now, I have, we've established I suck at typing, so I'm not going to change my spelling. I'm going to leave that. And that's one of the really cool things with the generative AI inside of these tools, and even in tools like ChatGPT, is they tend to figure out what you've spelled badly. And if it's a spelling error, they tend to fix it up and then use that, and they'll do that. They work quite well with actually fixing it. What it doesn't do is fix up your your replacing the wrong word. So if you use the wrong word and it's close to the other one, it's not going to assume you got the word wrong because the spelling's right and the grammatical context is right. It's going to do that. And I use the example I love to use is my daughter likes to use DALL-E 3 to generate pictures, and she asked DALL-E to generate a lifelike picture of a hybrid golden retriever and an otter for no other purpose than it was cool to do. And she spelt otter incorrectly, and the autocorrect replaced otter with putter, as in the putter used in golf. And the picture that was generated was a dog playing golf. When we fixed it up and replaced with otter, we got a hybrid dog that had like an otter's tail. So words do make a difference to the way I think. Cool. So let's jump back in. So according to document Turing, and it gives me a summary of what Turing's thoughts were around that. And once again, I've got a little 1, 2, 3, 4s, and that's there because it's referenceable. So I can jump to. So even though it's give me one paragraph, I can jump to all 4 reference places and have a look at where, and you'll see it is about 4 different paragraphs in the document that is consolidated into a single output. So really, really useful, very powerful when it comes to looking at documents that you've been sent to be able to reason across them, summarize them, and ask natural language questions. And I like this example because it found the content in 4 different places in the document, but I managed to get a single output which I can then copy and use and provide context. So let me quickly do a very, very quick recap. When it comes to Word for running sort of Word inside of with Copilot for M365, the big things is create and edit content is one of the things you can do with it. Is create and edit content works phenomenally well. The other thing is being able to read documents that have been sent to you and get summaries and ask questions. Last thing before I end, because this is quite a long video, is can it do really cool, sexy stuff? And it can. So I've got a bit of a prompt set up over here, and I'm going to copy that. So the prompt I'm going to give it is create, just create the structure, or no, wrong one. Like I said, we're keeping this real. I actually didn't copy both lines. The prompt I want to give it, I want to give it a bit of test. I'm going to give it a prompt to create a draft work order for a generic deployment of Dynamics 365 sales for a company called Contosa Holdings. Just create the structure, except for the change management part. Be very detailed on the Fusion 5 project methodology, or let's actually change that because we can, except for the security part, be very detailed. So I haven't actually tested this one, so it's going to be fun. And use this doc as a reference. And we are going to once again go and use that ICT document because it is something that is available for us to work with. Cool. So now I've given it very specific instructions. Let's see how creative it can actually be. And so draft work order for Dynamics deployment, fantastic. Prepared by Fusion 5 for Contosa Holdings, scope of work. So it's basically taken what the model knows of a Dynamics 365 sales deployment for what it's learned off its training on publicly accessible data. It's created a draft scope of work. So once again, I told it just create placeholders, don't go and add additional content. It's added in some assumptions and dependencies. I have no idea if these are actually correct. This is something that obviously you go through to make sure they are right. And majority of the time, you're going to be the subject matter expert who will look at this and go, no, that doesn't make sense. This applies. Delivery and timelines has come up with a few, which is really impressive. It's come up with budget and payment terms, which is a whole different story. And let's have a look how far. So it stopped generating from there. I'm not really sure why. And now we're going to go generate again. So we're not happy with that. So, but what we are seeing, it's able to do a lot more than just update a paragraph or go and add some random content about how to make chicken noodle soup or what something is. It's able to actually generate reasonably good first draft content that we can work with. Huh. Please change your description and try again. So let's go and take that out and we go generate. So maybe there was a problem. Anyway, let's go back to it's able to generate reasonably good content that is usable as a first draft if we're doing something like this. Would this be the version we send out to the customer? Absolutely not. Is it a blank piece of paper that I need to start working off? No, it's not. Is it giving me something to work with? I'm using a work order here. This might not be applicable to you. You might want to use it for something else. Bear in mind, this is the publicly accessible data it was trained on. So it's stuff that it knows from what's available on the internet. And I can keep that as my basis and go and go, you know what, in my organization, we don't just do that. We do this as well and add it. Another option would be to actually reference existing work orders and say, based on these three work orders, go and draft a work order for me, which I'm not going to demo because IP is IP. But I think that covers the gist of it. So does it work? Well, it does. Will it improve and change? It already is. We can already see from the fact that I can dictate that it's there. Does it have a bunch of pre-built prompts? Yes. So there's a couple of prompts around create, and there's a couple of nice examples. Write a project proposal, add a paragraph, draft a business plan. If I go through to the uh, understand part, tell me about, summarize, list pros and cons, what are. So they give you a couple of really good ideas. And if I go to the ask section, is how do I add a table of contents, give me specific examples. So there are a whole bunch of prompts that are there ready to start working with. Yeah, so you don't need to start with a blank piece of paper and figure it out. You could actually start with Copilot and get your first draft out, and you are able to reference information already inside your organization. Cool. So that is Copilot for Microsoft Word, unedited, quite raw. If you're using it and you have a better experience or have a negative experience, drop a comment in whatever social media platform this is on. Let me know what you think. If you have a few other prompts that you have been using that you think are amazing, you'd like to share with people, let us know in the comments as well and share with the rest of the audience. So thank you very much and kia ora.